Well, you made it to the end. Congratulations! Welcome to the final part of a 5-video series I've created to recount the court case I opened on my abuser, Kai Weiss. You are now watching part 5 of 5. This video was completed on Friday, June 30th, 2023. Here is the video. I'm definitely going to be approaching this video differently than the previous videos in this series because it deals with a lot more sensitive subject matter, and to be quite honest with you, I initially had plans to disclose pretty much all of the intimate details about the events of December 3rd, 2021, all of my testimony, what happened at what times, and just all of that. But I took a step back for a second and started asking myself if that was truly something I was comfortable doing on my YouTube channel, where I just described the gory details of how I was brutalized by my ex, whether on December 3rd, 2021 or throughout the entire course of our relationship. And well, if I'm being honest and true to myself and the things I truly want or desire out of this, the answer is no. That's not something I want to do. I don't want to do that because I don't want to talk about how inhumanely I was treated that day, how gutted I felt, how empty inside I was, how I didn't feel like I could ever hit more of a rock bottom. I don't need to do that. That's not the point of this series and never was the point of the series. This series was meant to debunk the lies Kai has spread all throughout the duration of our court case. The intention I had with the series was to get the truth about the situation out there and no longer letting Kai spread a false narrative about himself, me, or about the case. I don't need to talk ad nauseum about my own brutalization, assault, or strangulation to do that. The photos that exist that have been posted publicly should speak for themselves. The fact that Kai took a plea deal and pled guilty to assault and battery of a family or household member speaks for itself. In order to obtain that plea agreement, he agrees that he is guilty of committing that crime, which is something we established in the very first video of this series. So, since we can certifiably say that, unless Kai committed a serious act of perjury, which would be a completely separate crime of its own, I think that that is evidence enough of my brutalization that day, and truthfully, I don't see the point of providing further testimony about my strangulation in addition to that, especially because I have demonstrated that I never lied about this situation once, have no incentive to lie about the situation, and that he was indicted for said crimes. That should stand alone as a fact to suggest that the evidence I managed to present in court was sufficient enough to go to trial, and I have historically only ever cared about what happened in the court of law and not the court of public opinion. Again, unlike Kai. So, sorry to disappoint if you got to the end of the video series hoping to hear every gruesome detail of my assault and strangulation, but the thing is, I have dignity. And as much as it's important to me to get this information out there, the parts of this case that hurt me physically, emotionally, mentally, and socially the most are the parts of the case that I'm not yet ready to get into, let alone know if I'll ever want to get into publicly. This was the type of information I was ready to present to a judge presiding over a court for the preliminary trial hearing, or a grand jury for the full-blown trial, people who actually had influence over real-life legal punishment my abuser deserves. You already know he brutalized me. He admitted to it, so I just don't want to talk about it ad nauseum when we already can establish that he has been a terribly violent and destructive person with me. Giving added testimony on top of that to me is just overkill and makes me feel uncomfortable because my deepest traumas aren't for random YouTube audiences to speculate over and listen to. It's triggering and incredibly harrowing both for me to create and recount, but also for you to watch and listen to. So I decided that I won't be getting into the strangulation specifically because that is truly beyond anyone's business to know unless you are a trusted and intimate, integrated part of my personal life, my lawyer, or somehow otherwise associated with the justice system and the courts who have had a personal stake in my case. However, I'm open to providing the evidence I have of the felony theft and preventing a 911 call charges because those don't deal as intimately with my complete and utter dehumanization and degradation by Kai Weiss in a physically abusive way. I hope that that is something you can understand and respect as a viewer who is clearly invested in my story, as evidenced by the fact that you made it this far into the series. So, starting with what I can provide about the preventing a 911 call charge. Obviously, much like the assault or the strangulation charges, I don't have a video recording of Kai doing this. And how could I? I didn't have my phone by nature of the charge. And the evidence I do have is mainly testimonial or circumstantial evidence that corroborates the things I claim. But I will briefly present what I have in this section of the video. And you know what? What better way to do this than to let Kai himself do it for me? In his second video, he actually actually discloses this much needed detail that will help bolster my claim.
Also, a detail that Omnia fails to concede to the public as well is that these photos were taken not on December 3rd, but December 5th, 2 days after I allegedly beat the shit out of them and choked them out.
It's true. The photos I managed to take that I had later posted publicly on December 10th, 2021 were indeed taken on December 5th. Can any of you guess why? Take a guess. Okay. Do you have your guess in mind? I'll tell you why, and you let me know if you guessed right. It's because I didn't have my phone on December 3rd or 4th in order to take photos of my bruises, because Kai took my phone from me. Crazy! Not only that, but do you want to see the earliest text messages I have between Kai and I on my phone? Let me scroll to the very top of our text messages just for you, without doxing any identifying information, of course. Oh wow, would you look at that? December 5th, 2021 at 8 a.m. Where did all my text messages go before that? It's almost as if Kai took my phone and deleted all the text messages we shared between us prior to December 5th because he didn't want me to have access to or take screenshots of our text messages on December 3rd. I wonder why that could possibly be the case. Also, can I just say as an aside, it's so insanely funny to me that the first couple texts Kai sends me after clearing all of our prior text messages on my phone just to scrub my access to the text we sent on December 3rd are links to some Airbnbs in Anaheim, California, because he promised to take me to Disneyland to make up for the shit he did to me that weekend. Insane. It's almost as though he's, what's that word again? Love bombing me? In order to maybe dissuade me from coming out about the shit he did to me 2 days prior? But hey, what do I know? And you know what? Let's add just one more piece of evidence in here to really drive home the point. You know how Kai corroborated that my photos were taken on December 5th and not December 3rd, which was the day I was assaulted? If you can't tell by those photos, I was standing in my apartment's bathroom taking photos of my face in the mirror. And you know what else I did? Because I knew this was my one chance to document my abuse early, I wrote a diary entry. You see, Kai gave me my phone back on December 5th because he wanted me to look at the Airbnbs he was sending to me and get my feedback on them. But, you know, honestly, reflecting on it now, he probably only gave it back to me on that day because I was acting incredibly passive and compliant towards him since the day of my assault, as if nothing was wrong. He probably felt like he could trust me enough to give me my phone back because he thought I wasn't going to say or do anything that would rebel against him because, bro, I was trying my damnedest to act that way. I was putting on an Oscar award-winning act just to get him to trust me enough to give me my phone back. That way, I could finally come forward about everything to a police officer and get him removed from my premise. Obviously, everything was wrong inside. Put yourself in my shoes. The man just physically brutalized me, then took my phone from me so I couldn't call the police on the day that it happened. Furthermore, Kai absolutely refused to leave my apartment until February, so I was pretty much forced to be around him until I figured out how I could forcibly remove him by obtaining a protective order. At the time, I hadn't realized that a protective order was even an option yet, let alone the fact that I would be able to kick Kai out of my apartment. So, in the meantime, between December 3rd and December 8th, which was the day I finally went to the police department, I was doing an incredible job at acting like 1, I didn't see his mask slip on December 3rd, but more importantly, 2, I had no problem with the things he did to me and wasn't in fear of my life. So I acted completely normally, as if nothing happened because, well, I was afraid for my life and deathly afraid that he was going to do what he had done to me 2 days prior at that point again. So I carried on living with him per usual as to not set any alarm bells off that I was actually planning to go to the police and escape this incredibly toxic relationship as soon as physically possible. Again, I didn't know what my options were at the time, but I figured if I could get him to give me my phone back and allow me to bring it into the bathroom for just enough time to take some clear photos of my face and body, I would have enough proof to substantiate my claims of assault. And like I had said, Kai confiscated my phone after my brutalization, so I couldn't tell anyone, let alone call 911 on December 3rd. The real time frame where I began planning my escape was the second he gave me my phone back on December 5th until the moment I made it to the police department on the 8th. Honestly, had Kai not given me my phone back at all, I probably would have been held hostage in my own apartment until someone at school or my part-time job became alarmed enough by my absence. It's actually terrifying to think about. So, Kai gave me my phone back because I led him on to believe that he could trust that I wouldn't tell anyone about what he did and that I wouldn't hide in my bathroom and take photos of my beat-up face. Well, thank God he was fooled because as soon as I safely made it into the bathroom with my phone in hand and locked the door behind me, I immediately took the photos, uploaded all of them into my online diary app, which he didn't know the password to, then deleted all of them off my phone to scrub any existence of them in case he checked before I managed to escape. Because again, Kai had access to all my Apple products through the associated password. He would have easily easily been able to see the abuse photos I took if I left them in my Apple Photos or even in the trash can of my photos. The diary app I have is password protected, but the difference between that app and my phone is that I never told Kai the password to it. So I housed the photos in there in order to hide the existence of them being taken to him in the event that he checks my phone's photos while I'm asleep or something like that. Listen, if you've ever been in an overwhelmingly abusive relationship, I know for a fucking fact you can relate to this. For those of you who have had the privilege of never having to experience this, you are the lucky ones and probably think that this level of proactive thinking is insane. But when you're dealing with an abuser, you have to make sure all your boxes are checked, your I's are dotted, you are on your P's and Q's, and every single tiny little detail is squared away. When you are on your way out, you cannot ever let them know you are escaping because they will stop at nothing to keep you in it. It's scary, but it's what's needed if you want to exit in one piece. That's why I had to think so far ahead. Anyways, apologies for the ramble. Here is a screenshot of what I said I did, which was me uploading all the photos I took into the diary app at around 1:30 p.m. on December 5th, 2021. The blurred section on the left side of these photos is my location because for some reason this diary app takes into account where you were when you wrote the entry, but as I stated at the very top, I also created a quick little diary entry to add further context to what I alleged happened to me. This diary entry may be triggering for some audiences, so please do take this time to consider if you are of sound enough mind and possess the mental or emotional fortitude to hear me read this now. If you are, here's my entry with identifying information such as legal names blurred. It was written on Sunday, December 5th, 2021. I write, in case I do go to the police with this information, I want to write this on the day I took these pictures so there is no mistake and so you know that my story doesn't and will not change. I know victims aren't believed that much, so I want to make it easy for everyone to know exactly who did this to me. It is Kai White. His mother is blank. His brother is blank. His sister is blank. His online name is Kai Weiss, and I used to be his girlfriend. He assaulted me and punched me and elbowed me in the face multiple times, pried my hands off of my phone when I wanted to call the police, when I was screaming in the bathroom vent trying to call the people who live upstairs to get help and to please help me. He got my own speaker that I had bought, used my phone to connect through Bluetooth, and played a playlist I created at max volume to drown out the sounds of my begs and pleas for someone, anyone, to come help me or save me. He did this all to me on Friday, December 3rd, 2021. I slept on the couch while he refused to leave and sleep in my bed. This is all a true story, and he's an abuser, a physical one, a verbal one, and an emotional one. If I ever do come forward with this story, this is what happened to me that day, and this is what he did to me. All of the bruises, scars, scratches, or anything else I documented here is a result of Kai White. I really hope you can believe me. Written at 1:30 p.m. Yeah. This is the same guy so many notable creators want to rub shoulders with in this fucking community. It's no wonder I don't fuck with anyone who fucks with him, and it's no wonder I never looked back after I left. Anyways, that concludes the proof I had of my preventing 911 call claim. Hope it's sufficient enough by your standards, but even if it's not, I'm gonna be honest, I don't care. I couldn't have been more clear. After going to the police department on December 8th, as I've already established in previous videos, Kai was forcibly removed from my apartment as a result of the emergency protective order I obtained. And like I had said, he pretty much robbed me clean, deleted my YouTube channel, and left that threatening note in my notes app, which was Protective Order Violation 1 we already discussed in the third video of this series. This section of the video is providing whatever proof I have of his theft and this really crazy screenshot that will help you truly understand what Kai did to delete my channel. Let's start with the channel deletion because I've never leaked this screenshot before and I really want to thank the person who sent this to me at the time that they did because it more accurately paints a picture of what had happened on December 8th after Kai was served with the EPO. This one requires a little background knowledge, but assuming you watched all the videos prior to this one, you should be prepared well and know everything you need to in order to understand. This is the proof I have that corroborates my hypothesis about the channel deletion. On December 8th, 2021 at 6:55 p.m., I received this Instagram DM from one of my subscribers. They said, "Hey Omnia, I just found your Instagram account, but I've been subbed to your YouTube for about a year or two, and I found that your channel is just gone. I was even watching your videos 2 hours ago. I wanted to inform you in case that wasn't you. If that was your doing, I hope everything is okay. I wish you all the best, Queen." And wow, it's insane how their spidey senses could just tell that it wasn't me. Some of my subscribers are truthfully heaven sent. To the person who sent this to me when they did, you are literally an angel from above. So like I said, assuming you watched video 3 in the series, you know exactly how this clearly establishes a timeline and abundantly obvious paper trail for the things Kai did as soon as he was served his EPO. I want you to pay such close attention right now because this is where every single thing after the EPO was served culminates together and the events of December 8th are spelled out, okay? This is the moment you have been waiting for this entire series, so you better fucking relish in it. Pay close attention to the screenshots I'm about to show you on screen. All of the timestamps will be highlighted in yellow, okay? Let's do this. This is the hour of 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Kai gets back to my apartment from the school building he tried to find me at by around 6 p.m. Police are waiting outside my apartment door waiting for him to arrive so they can serve him the emergency protective order. Between 6 p.m. and 6:15 p.m., police are serving him and explaining what the EPO entails. Afterwards, police write in their paperwork that Kai was served at 6:15 p.m. After that, Kai gets inside my apartment. Between 6:15 and 6:27 p.m., Kai gets on his phone and calls his mom. But per her weird instruction to grab whatever he could at the time, Kai hops onto either my iPad or Mac. He snoops through my messages and takes this photo of my conversation with a friend. He sends the photo to his mom at 6:27 p.m. 7 minutes later, he then leaves me protective order violation 1, the threatening note in my notes app where he says, "Eventually this will catch up to you." After he leaves that threat, between 6:34 p.m. and 6:55 p.m., he deletes my channel. He did this from what is most likely my Mac computer because I never was logged into my YouTube or had the YouTube Studio app downloaded on my iPad. Kai did all of this within 40 minutes of being served the EPO and being told to get out of my apartment. He immediately entered my apartment, got onto my device, found my message with a friend, and got so unjustifiably angry that I dared tell someone about the abuse he subjected me to, and took that as a free pass to violate my protective order in 19 minutes and delete my channel within 21 minutes of doing that. My channel deletion happened within the hour he was served the EPO. The first protective order violation happened within the hour he was served the EPO. Do you not understand how fucking pertinent this timeline is? Do you not see how obvious this paper trail is? Holy fuck. Not only that, but Kai was forced to leave my apartment by 8:30 p.m. and was gone by then. I arrived back at my apartment with a police officer by around 8:50 p.m., so within 20-ish minutes of him leaving. He took between the moment he was served the EPO till no later than 6:55 p.m. to violate my protective order and delete my channel. But he didn't stop there. After that, he then stole my iPad, Apple Pencil, Nintendo Switch Lite, all my Switch games, Nintendo 3DS XL, all my 3DS games, speaker, cat food, and all the gifts he gave me while he was packing his stuff up to leave. And yet somehow, things get worse. This is where things get fucking spicy, okay? Don't stop paying attention. Kai also specifically took my old iPhone. Let's talk briefly about this phone. Here's the receipt of it. This was the first phone I ever bought for myself entirely on my own. It was back in April 2018 with money I had saved up from my part-time job at a Taekwondo studio. I was 17 at the time, and I know this because it was an iPhone 10, which came out the year prior. I wanted to get the most recent phone because the one I had prior to that was an iPhone 6, a hand-me-down from my older sister, and desperately wanted an upgrade. Here's a photo of me taking a picture with it a couple days prior to meeting Kai, and then a photo of me and Kai taking a picture with it a couple days later. This should establish that I had this phone before ever meeting Kai. This was also the iPhone I primarily used until I bought the one I currently use in July 2021. I only bought a new phone because the old one got rained on pretty badly and wouldn't turn on anymore, so I bought a new one thinking the old one was broken. It wasn't, but it wasn't working for a while, so I thought I needed a new one. When Kai and I figured out it was still working, I felt blown for spending money on a new one, but it was kind of too late. I then just kept that old phone in storage. The name of this phone ended with a K and still shows up in my devices in the Find My app to this day. Okay, sorry for talking so extensively about something that seems very straightforward. This phone is important because Kai stole it on December 8th along with the rest of the stuff I claimed he stole, and I have receipts to back it up. I just want to play a clip of Kai insisting he never stole my stuff before I get into this claim.
And regardless of all of that, that still doesn't explain charging me for felony strangulation despite never doing that, accusing me of stealing from you despite never doing that either.
Just keep this in mind. So, after the police officer and I arrived back at my apartment by 8:50 p.m., we surveyed my apartment. Like I said, it was trashed, shit was littered about the floor, Gabby was gone, and Kai didn't even take all of his own stuff with him. Seems to me that he was so busy stealing my stuff that he didn't even have time to grab his toothbrush. Gross. Anyways, I had a reservation at a hotel and the officer told me to grab whatever belongings I needed to take with me to the hotel because he was going to personally drive and accompany me to my room. My college was really considerate and rented out a hotel room for me to be in for a couple days just to be proactive in the event that Kai returned to my apartment with malicious intent. It was a very thoughtful and proactive gesture on my college's part, and I'm really thankful they did that for me. After surveying the apartment for some time, the officer taking note of the state Kai left it in, me finding out about the protective order violation and reporting it to the officer, me attempting to find Gabby, packing up a bag to go to the hotel, and then commuting there, the officer and I arrived at the hotel about an hour and a half later. Here's a screenshot I took of me joining the Wi-Fi, I guess. Unsure why I took this screenshot, but I'm thanking myself for it now. It was taken at 10:56 p.m. on the 8th. About 30 minutes later, I'm still at the hotel, but you know what I'm doing? I'm FaceTiming that friend that Kai was so unjustifiably angry at me for talking to in video 3.
No one who was scared shitless tells everyone they know about what happened to them, let alone FaceTimes their friend the same night.
And you know what happens while I'm FaceTiming that friend? This. At 11:26 p.m. I received the alert that my Apple ID and phone number was being used for iMessage and FaceTime on a new phone. But the thing is, it wasn't a new phone. It was my old phone, the one that was at the apartment before I left to go to the police department on the 8th. You can see the K at the end of the name. The alert said, if you recently signed into that old iPhone's name, you can ignore this notification. And bro, I immediately screenshotted that while on FaceTime with my friend. I obviously didn't ignore it, started freaking out about it to my friend, and that's when I realized Kai stole my old iPhone. Again, remember, I'm in a hotel away from my home and I didn't have access to the phone whatsoever. Besides, how the fuck would I set up my old iPhone while I'm on FaceTime with someone else? But Kai didn't just steal that, he also stole my yellow Nintendo Switch Lite and all the games I had bought with it. Again, prior to ever meeting Kai. He stole my Nintendo 3DS XL and every single game that I bought with that as well. But you know, Kai of course insists he never did that.
He had the audacity to steal my Nintendo Switch, which I didn't. And before he claims he gifted that to me when I bought it for myself, I agree with this. They definitely bought their Switch, but I didn't steal it.
But you know what I think is interesting? You know what I think is funny? I'll just let the clip speak for itself.
The amount of money, because I did trade-ins in order to get my Switch OLED, that I spent on my Switch OLED was like a little bit over $50. I didn't have to spend a lot of money, bro. Niggas think I don't know what to do with my own fucking money. Like, bro, I know what I'm doing.
So Kai means to tell me that he spent a little over $50 on a Switch OLED, which cost $360 at GameStop because of trade-ins? What the hell did he trade in? Because he clearly didn't trade in his other 2 Switches or any of his Joy-Cons, Pro controllers, or games of his own. I can take a stab at it. It was probably every single fucking game I owned prior to Kai. It was probably every single fucking console I owned before meeting Kai. And you know what? I not only predicted that being the case, but I also did the hard work of figuring out if this was even a feasible or plausible option. And you know what? It very much is. If I add up all the games and consoles I've bought that magically disappeared from my apartment as soon as Kai was forced to leave it after the EPO was served on him, it comes out to be a total of $662.19 in those receipts alone. But you know, when you go to GameStop to trade games and consoles in, they always take them in at a much lower price than you bought them at because, well, it's GameStop. And you know what the maximum regular value store credit Kai could have gotten on all of these items were? Let me calculate it for you. $333. And well, that being the maximum he could have gotten off of trading all my items in is a fucking good indicator that he probably did trade my shit in. With a margin of error of about $33-ish, adjusting for lower quality and any other outliers, I'd say when the margin is that fucking close, you would really have to reach to try and say that him trading in my stuff isn't accurate. In other words, that's a pretty fucking good estimate and falls right about where I would assume it would fall if he did trade in my games and consoles alone. Again, keeping in mind he didn't trade anything of his own. It's evidenced in his own photos of his stuff. He can't just turn up $300 worth of store credit at GameStop from nowhere. But this is Kai we're talking about. He'll never admit to any of this for a second, but I see it for what it is. And hey, if Kai is willing to lie about just about everything else in this fucking case, what makes you think he's not lying about stealing my iPad, or Apple Pencil, or my JBL speaker? Did they just magically disappear into thin air as soon as Kai is forced to leave my apartment as a result of a protective order, or I just lost them all of a sudden as soon as Kai isn't allowed to live here anymore. And you know what I think is super sad? Kai truthfully thinks I'm stupid, or that most of the things he refuses to explain about the situation and insists he's innocent of can't be explained through common fucking sense. Like the likelihood of someone else breaking into my apartment and stealing all this shit just happening to coincide with the time he is forced to exit my apartment as a part of an EPO is just so high according to him. High enough, in fact, that he'd choose that option over the obvious answer, that being he's the culprit. Again, to him, it's a more likely option that I'm framing him for protective order violations during arguably some of the most traumatic moments of my recent life. And considering I proved he took my iPhone, that was $646 alone. With my consoles and games, that's $1,308. Let's not even start on the iPad or the Apple Pencil or the speaker or the Apple Pencil case or the iPad case or the wireless charger or the Roomba or, you know what? I think you get the point. But I think some people fail to realize that the things I bought far before I ever met Kai weren't the only things that were stolen. In fact, Kai seems to not understand the law of gift giving and what it means when someone gives a gift. As in, when you give a gift, the ownership of that item is then transferred over to the person you gave said gift to. You would think that that was common sense, but apparently it isn't to Kai. Here's a screenshot from a thread Kai created back on December 10th, 2021, speaking to just that. He says, all the clothing they said I quote-unquote stole from them, all of it is clothing that I paid for. They're mad now that I didn't allow them to keep all the things I gave them. Even those glasses they're wearing now are items that I arranged and also put in my money for. The shoes and caps I got for you, all those games I bought, those are mine now. I respected the wishes of the protective order, regardless of how bogus it is, and the police have informed me to continue respecting the order and let them be. If they wanted to keep all my things, they should have thought about that before making a false accusation. These tweets aged like wine. False accusation, he said. Laughable. The Kai in these screenshots must be so disappointed in the Kai of today, pleading guilty or whatever. Ugh. But do y'all want to hear a funny little anecdote? I showed these screenshots to my victim's protective aide at the very beginning of this case when Kai first started his Twitter tirades, and she looked at me in disbelief. Just pure shock in her eyes. Nothing in her head but just wonder and confusion. So I asked her what was wrong because she was having just the hardest time getting a word out. And after finally mustering up her words, she stared at me blankly and said, "He just confessed to theft." And I just thought that was really funny. She was shocked that he would ever even say some shit like this publicly. And you know why? It's because she knows the law, baby. And I'm gonna read it to you. I'll link this article below in case you suddenly feel compelled to get into the nitty-gritty of the law of gifts and gift giving. But the article says, a gift is a voluntary, irrevocable transfer of property from one person to another without consideration. The giver of the gift is the donor, while the receiver is the donee. In addition to being irrevocable, there are 3 additional elements that a gift must meet in order to be valid. 1, the donor must intend to make a present gift of the property. 2, the donor must actually deliver the property to the donee. 3, the donee must accept the gift. It's crazy because, like, let's use my fucking prescription glasses for example, right? Kai didn't buy those for me. He said he quote-unquote put in his money for. Essentially, he paid for half of it out of at least what I thought was the kindness of his heart. I need those glasses. They only work for my eyes. So Kai pitched in to help me buy it, which, by the way, for the record, I never asked him to do. He extended that offer unconditionally, and I accepted the offer. I almost regret it now though, considering how transactional the nigga is. Or let's forget the glasses that are only meant to be used for my specific eyesight. Let's take the shoes, clothes, and caps he mentioned. Have y'all ever seen a photo of Kai and me together, sitting or standing or just side by side? The guy is huge. He has at least a full head on me at all times. He stands at about 6 feet and I'm pushing 5'2" or 5'3" max. What shoes are you buying that aren't meant for my size 7 in women's ass feet? What clothes are you buying that aren't meant for my shorter arms or legs? Besides, Kai literally says, and I quote, "The shoes and caps I got for you," indicating the intent to make a present gift of the property, which is condition 1 of gifts. Delivering these shoes to me, letting me wear them, and saying these are for you, I bought them for you, makes it a gift. He really has the audacity to say they're mad now that I didn't allow them to keep all the things I gave them. As if that's not inherently theft. A gift is irrevocable, dude. That means after you gave them to me, they are now legally mine. There's no clearer way to spell it out. Congrats on confessing to felony theft though, I guess. Imagine saying, I didn't allow them to keep the things I bought for them to have after we broke up. Like, dude, you are a pussy ass bitch. And you know what? I'm deciding that concludes this video, as well as this video series about my convicted domestic abuser, Kai Weiss. This video, let alone this entire series, has honest to God been really painful for me to make, and I hope you guys know that. It is painstaking subjecting myself to the sound of my abuser's voice. I hate how stupid he is. I hate that I even have to debunk these clearly invalid arguments, but I did it because I want the truth about this person out there. And while it does harm me and has harmed me emotionally and mentally to put this out there, I hope you can come to appreciate the lengths I've gone to make the world aware. I have thought about quitting on this series so many times. So many times. You wouldn't know the half of it unless you were there encouraging me to complete it. Kai Weiss is a dangerous man. This is not some poor, innocent, uwu guy who is majorly misunderstood and has been smeared by me, Sen. This is not some silly, goofy drama where you watch every single video my abuser makes and comments first on Jar. Kai's charges weren't dismissed because I talked too much about it on twitter.com Lio Convoy. Maybe stop parroting everything Lio tells you and get a mind of your own, hopeless peaches. Every single one of you creators publicly associating with him, getting into his streams, asking for his Discord, getting in calls with him, doing the absolute most. Where was this same energy for me? Why didn't any of y'all ask for my side? Why didn't any of y'all extend a hand towards me when the going got tough? You all want to champion yourselves as people who condemn abusers, but your behavior publicly and privately indicates nothing of the sort. As a matter of fact, your behavior demonstrates nothing but the fact that you condone abusers. This is the same guy who assaulted me in my own home, called it a false accusation for the entire duration of our court case, then ended up pleading guilty to it to avoid trial. Lied about whether he actually pled guilty or took an Alfred plea, lied about how his charge will be expunged from his record, lied about violating my protective order 4 times, lied about stealing from me and preventing me from calling 911, and literally every other thing I alleged he did. And it's not like it wasn't abundantly obvious from the beginning. It's not like I didn't tell every single one of you exactly what he did to me, told the truth from the very beginning, remained consistent from the very start, was transparent about my intentions since December of 2021. I never lied. He is vile. He's vile. And you know what? Since you all are so confident about publicly associating with the guy, I hope you feel really fucking proud of yourselves for falling victim to a narcissistic smear campaign and simply listening to the loudest person in the room instead of waiting for the victim of his crimes to say anything tangible or produce anything to substantiate their claims. I'm unsure if it's because you're impatient or just hate me, but either way, a special and colossal fuck you goes out to all y'all. And before you run to Twitter, don't hit my DMs with an apology. Save it. Maybe use that time you would have spent saying sorry to me privately on how you're gonna explain this to the rest of your audience members now that this has been made public. Anyways, y'all be easy. Bye!